You walk into a room. Every eye turns, not because you spoke, but because of how you made people feel the last time you left. That's the secret to instant likability. It's not about being loud. It's not about being the smartest. It's about being the one who lifts others, subtly, consistently, effortlessly. In this video, I'll teach you the exact skills Dale Carnegie used to turn strangers into allies and skeptics into raving fans. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind and tell us, where are you watching from? Chapter 1. The Likability Blueprint. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Charm isn't random. It's not some magical gift bestowed upon the lucky few. It's architecture. It's engineering. It's a blueprint that, once understood, can be replicated with near-perfect precision. Here's what most people don't understand. When someone walks into a room and instantly commands attention, they're not doing it by accident. They're following a precise set of psychological principles that Dale Carnegie discovered through decades of observation and interaction. Think about the most magnetic person you know, the one everyone gravitates toward, the one who makes every person feel like they're the only one in the room. Now, what if I told you that this person is following a specific pattern, whether they know it or not? The foundation of instant likability isn't what most people think. It's not about having the perfect joke, the sharpest suit, or the most impressive resume. These are surface-level tricks that might grab attention for a moment but fail to create lasting impact. The real blueprint starts with something much deeper, emotional intelligence. But not just any kind of emotional intelligence. I'm talking about the specific ability to read a room, gauge emotional temperatures, and adjust your energy accordingly. Let me break this down into something tactical you can use today. When you enter any social situation, there are 3 critical elements you must master. First, emotional temperature reading. Before you say a word, take 2 seconds to gauge the energy in the room. Is it high and excited, low and focused, tense, relaxed? This initial read will determine everything that follows. Second, energy matching. Your initial energy should match or slightly exceed the room's current state. Think of it like merging onto a highway. You need to match the speed of traffic before you can smoothly join the flow. Third, gradual elevation. Once you've matched the energy, you can begin to subtly lift it. This is where true social mastery shows itself. You're not just participating in the room's energy, you're orchestrating it. But here's the part that might surprise you. None of this requires you to be extroverted. In fact, some of the most likable people I've ever met are introverts who've mastered these principles. They understand that charisma isn't about volume, it's about impact. Think about this. Have you ever met someone who spoke softly but carried immense presence? Someone who didn't need to dominate the conversation, to dominate the room? That's what we're aiming for. The blueprint I'm sharing with you today isn't about changing who you are. It's about amplifying your natural strengths through strategic awareness and intentional action. Here's what most people get wrong. They try to be interesting. But the secret to instant likability isn't being interesting, it's being interested. It's not about being impressive, it's about being impressive at making others feel valued. Let me give you a practical example. Next time you're in a social situation, try this experiment. Instead of thinking about what you'll say next, focus entirely on understanding the person speaking. Watch what happens to your natural responses, your body language, your facial expressions. You'll find yourself naturally embodying the very qualities that make people magnetic. The blueprint we're discussing isn't just about social interactions. It's about human connection at its core. When you understand these principles, you begin to see social dynamics differently. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice, refine, and master these skills. Remember this, people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. This isn't just a nice saying, it's the cornerstone of the likability blueprint. Every technique, every strategy, every principle we'll discuss in the coming chapters builds on this fundamental truth. As we move forward, I want you to think of these principles not as tricks or techniques, but as tools for authentic connection. Because that's what Dale Carnegie understood better than anyone. True likability isn't about manipulation. It's about genuine human connection expressed through deliberate action. In the chapters that follow, we'll break down each element of this blueprint in detail. You'll learn exactly how to implement these principles in your daily life, how to troubleshoot when things don't go as planned, and how to maintain authenticity while developing these skills. But for now, I want you to focus on this core truth. Likability is not a talent, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Chapter 2. The Power of Remembering Names. Here is what most people don't understand about names. They're not just labels, they're keys. Keys that unlock instant rapport, deep trust, and immediate respect. When you say someone's name, you're not just identifying them. You're acknowledging their entire existence. Think about the last time someone remembered your name when you didn't expect them to. That small moment of recognition, that flash of pleasure, it's universal. It's hardwired into our psychology, and it's one of the most powerful tools in the arsenal of likability. But let me ask you this. How many names did you forget this week, this month, this year? Each forgotten name is a missed opportunity for connection. Each mispronounced name is a tiny crack in the foundation of rapport you're trying to build. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human nature. A person's name is the sweetest and most important sound in any language to that person. When you remember and use someone's name correctly, you're doing more than showing good memory. You're demonstrating respect, attention, and genuine interest. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The problem isn't your memory, it's your method. Your brain is capable of remembering thousands of names. What you need is a system, a reliable, repeatable process that turns name remembering from a lucky accident into a consistent skill. Here's the system I want you to start using today. First, hear it clearly. When someone introduces themselves, focus completely on their name. If you didn't catch it perfectly, ask them to repeat it. People appreciate this attention to detail. It shows you care about getting it right. Second, see it written. In your mind's eye, imagine their name written out. Ask them about the spelling, if it's not obvious. This creates another sensory connection to the name and shows your interest in accuracy. Third, connect it to something meaningful. Create an immediate association. If you meet Sarah who works in sales, you might think Sales Sarah with the sunny smile. The more vivid and personal the association, the stronger the memory becomes. Fourth, use it immediately. Work their name naturally into the conversation within the first minute. So, Michael, what brings you to this event? This cements the name in your memory and creates immediate warmth. Fifth, review it mentally when you leave. As you walk away, picture their face and repeat their name in your mind. This final step dramatically increases retention. But here's where most people go wrong. They treat name remembering as a party trick rather than a fundamental skill of human connection. They focus on the mechanical act of memory rather than the deeper purpose of recognition. Let me tell you something I've observed over years of teaching this. People who excel at remembering names aren't just good with memory, they're good with people. They understand that a name is more than a word, it's a bridge to connection. Think about the implications of this skill in your daily life. In business, remembering names can be the difference between making a sale and losing a client. In social situations, it can transform you from a familiar face to a valued friend. In leadership, it can turn a team of individuals into a loyal, cohesive unit. Here's a challenge for you. In the next 24 hours, make it your mission to remember and use the name of every person you meet. Not just the important people, not just the people you think you'll see again, every single person. Watch what happens. To the quality of your interactions. Notice how people's faces light up when you remember their names in the second or third interaction. Feel the difference in the energy of your conversations. But let me warn you about something. This isn't about showing off. The moment you use someone's name to demonstrate your memory skills rather than to create genuine connection, you've missed the point entirely. Remember this. The goal isn't to prove how good your memory is. The goal is to make people feel valued, recognized, and important. When you remember someone's name, you're not just recalling a word. You're acknowledging their individuality, their importance, their humanity. As Dale Carnegie noted, the difference between average and excellent human relations often comes down to this simple yet powerful act: remembering and using people's names. Let this sink in. Every time you forget a name, you're not just forgetting a word. You're missing an opportunity to make someone feel significant. Every time you remember and use a name thoughtfully, you're not just showing good memory. You're building a bridge of connection. Practice this skill relentlessly. Make it a fundamental part of who you are, because in the end, few things demonstrate respect and create instant likability more powerfully than hearing someone say your name when you least expect it. Chapter 3. Listen like your life depends on it. Here's what most people don't understand about listening. It's not a passive act. It's not about being quiet while someone else talks. True listening is one of the most active, engaged, and powerful things you can do in any interaction. Think about the last time you felt truly heard, not just listened to, but deeply understood. Remember how that felt? That's what we're going to learn to create for others. Because in the realm of instant likability, nothing, absolutely nothing, is more powerful than making someone feel heard. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually listened to someone without planning your response? Without thinking about your own similar story? Without waiting for your turn to speak? If you're being honest, it's probably been a while. Most people listen at the surface level. They hear words but miss meanings. They catch statements but miss emotions. They're physically present but mentally preparing their next comment. This isn't listening, it's just taking turns, talking. Dale Carnegie discovered something profound. People will automatically like you more if you master the art of listening. Not because you're agreeable, not because you're charming, but because you make them feel understood. And understanding is the deepest human need after physical survival. Let me share the 3 levels of listening that can transform your interactions. Level 1, physical listening. This is where it starts. Your body becomes an instrument of attention. Lean in slightly. Maintain comfortable eye contact. Nod occasionally but naturally. Your posture should say, "I'm fully here with you." No phone. Checking, no looking around, just pure focused presence. Level 2, mental listening. This is where you track not just words, but patterns. Listen for emotional keywords. Notice tone shifts. Pay attention to what they emphasize and what they gloss over. Every conversation has a surface story and a underlying story. Most people only hear the surface. You're going to catch both. Level 3, empathetic listening. This is where magic happens. You're not just hearing their story, you're feeling it. When they describe a challenge, you feel the weight of it. When they share a victory, you feel the triumph. This isn't about agreeing with everything, it's about understanding their perspective completely. But here's where most people go wrong. They think listening is about being silent. Real listening is about being engaged. It's about creating a space where others feel safe to express themselves fully. Let me teach you something that took me years to learn. The most powerful responses often aren't words at all. A thoughtful nod, an understanding smile, a concerned look. These silent signals can communicate more understanding than any verbal response. Here's the technique I want you to practice today, the 3-second rule. After someone finishes speaking, wait 3 full seconds before responding. This does 2 powerful things. It shows you're actually processing what they said, and it gives them space to continue if they're not quite finished. Think about this. In any given conversation, there are 3 conversations happening simultaneously. There's the one you're hearing, the one they're trying to have, and the one they wish they could have. Master listeners tune into all 3. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The greatest gift you can give someone is the experience of being understood. Not agreed with, understood. There's a crucial difference. Agreement is about you. Understanding is about them. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start seeking you out. They'll want to talk to you more. They'll remember interactions with you as particularly meaningful, not because you said anything brilliant, but because you listened brilliantly. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 conversations, make it your only goal to understand the other person completely. Don't worry about being interesting. Don't worry about what you'll say next. Just listen with your full being. But let me warn you about something. This level of listening can be intense. You'll hear things people don't usually share. You'll notice pain they usually hide. You'll see truth they often cover. Handle these moments with the respect they deserve. Remember this: every person you meet is carrying a story they want to tell. Most people never get the chance to tell it fully because most people never listen fully. Be the exception. Be the one who listens like every word matters, because to the person speaking, it does. The power of this kind of listening goes far beyond just making people like you. It transforms relationships. It deepens connections. It creates the kind of trust that usually takes months to build in just minutes. Master this skill, and you'll never struggle to connect with people again, because while everyone else is thinking about what to say next, you'll be doing something far more powerful. You'll be truly listening. Chapter 4. Smile, the silent signal of safety. Let me tell you something profound about human psychology. Before a single word is spoken, before any conscious thought is formed, your brain makes a split-second decision about every person you meet, friend or foe, safe or dangerous. And do you know what triggers this instant assessment more powerfully than anything else? A smile. But here's what most people don't understand. Not all smiles are created equal. Your brain can detect a fake smile from across a room. It can distinguish between a social smile and a genuine one in milliseconds. The difference? It's in the eyes. Always in the eyes. Think about the last time you saw someone smile with their whole face, eyes crinkling, energy lifting, genuine joy radiating. How did it make you feel? That's not just emotion. That's neuroscience in action. A genuine smile triggers a cascade of positive chemicals in both the smiler and the person being smiled at. Dale Carnegie understood something fundamental about human nature. A genuine smile is the shortest distance between two people. It's a universal language that transcends culture, age, and status. It's the fastest way to signal safety, warmth, and openness. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you thought about your smile? Not the mechanical act of lifting your lips, but the genuine expression of warmth that starts in your eyes and radiates through your entire face. Most people never think about it. They smile unconsciously, reactively, often without real feeling behind it. Here's the secret to a smile that instantly makes people like you. It must start before they see you. A genuine smile begins in your mind, in your emotional state, in your intention to connect. It's not something you put on like a mask. It's something that emerges from a genuine place of warmth. Let me share the 3 levels of smiling that can transform your interactions. Level 1, the recognition smile. This is the basic acknowledgement. Smile, it says, I see you. I recognize your humanity. It's brief, genuine, and appropriate for passing interactions. Master this for everyday encounters. Level 2, the connection smile. This smile lingers a moment longer. It reaches your eyes. It suggests, I'm happy to see you specifically. This is your go-to smile for building rapport and deepening relationships. Level 3, the joy smile. This is the full-face smile that radiates genuine pleasure. Use it when you're truly delighted to see someone. It's contagious, powerful, and impossible to fake convincingly. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to use smiling as a technique rather than letting it be an expression. A smile isn't something you do to people. It's something you share with them. Let me teach you something that changed my entire approach to human interaction. Your smile is a gift. When it's genuine, when it comes from a place of real warmth, it's one of the most valuable things you can give another person. Here's the technique I want you to practice today: the 3-second connection. When you smile at someone, hold that connection for 3 full seconds. Not in a creepy or intense way, but in a warm, genuine way. Watch how this small change transforms your interactions. Think about this. Every smile tells a story. A nervous smile says, "I'm uncomfortable." A polite smile says, "I'm being socially appropriate." A genuine smile says, "I'm truly glad to be in this moment with you. Which story do you want to tell?" Let me share a secret that most people miss. Your smile affects you as much as it affects others. When you smile genuinely, your body releases dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. You literally feel better, and when you feel better, you become more likable naturally. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start to mirror your energy. They'll unconsciously match your warmth. They'll feel more comfortable, more open, more connected, not because you're doing anything to them, but because you're sharing something with them. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, before every human interaction, take a moment to find something genuinely positive to smile about. Not for them, for you. Let that authentic feeling of warmth show on your face. But let me warn you about something. This isn't about wearing a permanent grin. It's about developing genuine warmth that naturally expresses itself through your smile. There's nothing more off-putting than a forced, permanent smile. Remember this. A genuine smile is not just an expression, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to connect, to share, to trust. When you master the art of the genuine smile, you master one of the most powerful tools of human connection. The impact of this goes far beyond just making people like you. It transforms your own experience of life. Because when you learn to find genuine reasons to smile, you learn to find genuine joy in your interactions with others. Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about making a good first impression again. Because while everyone else is trying to find the right words, you'll be speaking the universal language of human warmth. Chapter 5, The Rule of First Contact. Here's what most people don't understand about first impressions. They're not made in the first minute. They're made in the first 7 seconds. In that brief window, before a single word is exchanged, people have already made unconscious decisions about your competence, confidence, and credibility. But let me ask you this. If you only had 7 seconds to make someone feel completely at ease with you, what would you focus on? Most people get this completely wrong. They focus on what they'll say, when in reality, the game is already won or lost before words enter the equation. Think about the last time you instantly clicked with someone. That immediate sense of comfort, that feeling of, "I like this person." What created that? It wasn't their clever opening line. It was something far more primal, far more powerful. Dale Carnegie understood something fundamental about human nature. First impressions are emotional, not logical. They're created by a complex dance of micro-signals that happen almost entirely below the conscious level. Let me share the 4 elements of magnetic first contact that most people never think about. First, energy calibration. Your energy must be slightly above the room's current energy level, but never more than 20% higher. Too low, you seem disengaged. Too high, you seem threatening. This subtle calibration happens in the first 2 seconds. Second, the entry pause. Most people rush their entrance. Instead, pause briefly at the threshold. This split-second pause does 2 things. It allows you to read the room, and it makes your presence more intentional, more commanding. Third, the opening triangle. In those first moments, your eyes, smile, and body position form a triangle of engagement. Your eyes show focus, your smile shows warmth, your body position shows openness. All three must align perfectly. Fourth, the grounding breath. Take a subtle grounding breath before you engage. This centers you, calms your energy, and projects confidence without arrogance. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to make an impression instead of creating a connection. They focus on being impressive rather than being present. This fundamental mistake costs them countless opportunities for meaningful connection. Let me teach you something that took me years to understand. The key to a powerful first impression isn't what you project, it's what you invite. Your presence should be an invitation to connect, not a performance to impress. Here's the technique. I want you to master the three-point entry. As you enter any space, identify 3 points of positive focus. Something you appreciate about the environment, something you respect about the situation, and something you're genuinely curious about regarding the people present. Think about this. Every first contact is actually 3 contacts happening simultaneously. There's the physical meeting, the emotional connection, and the energy exchange. Most people only focus on the first, missing the 2 that matter most. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful first impressions often involve the least action. It's not about doing more. It's about being more present, more centered, more genuine in those crucial first moments. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start describing you as having a presence or an aura. They won't be able to explain exactly why they feel comfortable with you so quickly. That's because you're operating at a level beyond conscious awareness. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 first encounters, focus entirely on making the other person feel completely at ease. Don't worry about being interesting. Don't worry about being impressive. Just focus on creating comfort through your presence. But let me warn you about something. This level of conscious presence can feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel like you're moving too slowly, being too deliberate. Trust the process. What feels slow to you often feels grounded and confident to others. Remember this. Every first contact is an opportunity to create a moment of genuine human connection. These moments, strung together, create the fabric of your social and professional life. Each one matters more than you might think. The impact of mastering first contact goes far beyond just making good first impressions. It transforms how you show up in every interaction. Because when you know how to begin things powerfully, you set the tone for everything that follows. Let this sink in. People will forget most of what happens in your interaction, but they'll never forget how you made them feel in those first crucial moments. Make those moments count. Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about breaking the ice again. Because while everyone else is trying to figure out what to say, you'll be creating connections at a deeper, more meaningful level. Chapter 6. Don't be interesting. Be interested. Here's what most people don't understand about being likable. The most magnetic people in any room aren't the ones telling the best stories. They're the ones showing the most genuine interest in others' stories. Think about the last time you met someone who made you feel fascinating, someone who asked just the right questions, who leaned in with genuine curiosity, who made you feel like your thoughts and experiences truly mattered. That person probably wasn't trying to impress you. They were truly impressed by you. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you entered a conversation with the sole intention of discovering what makes the other person extraordinary? Not to network, not to impress, not to achieve any goal other than understanding their unique perspective? Dale Carnegie discovered something revolutionary. The fastest way to become interesting is to become genuinely interested. This isn't a technique. It's a complete shift in focus that transforms how people respond to you. Let me share the 3 levels of interest that can revolutionize your interactions. Level 1. Surface interest. This is where most people stop. They ask basic questions, make appropriate responses, but never dig deeper. It's polite, but it's not powerful. It creates pleasant conversations, but not lasting connections. Level 2. Investigative interest. This is where you start following the threads of curiosity. When someone mentions their job, you don't just ask what they do. You ask what drew them to that field, what challenges them, what excites them about their future in it. Level 3, deep interest. This is where magic happens. You're not just asking questions, you're connecting dots, seeing patterns, understanding their worldview. You're curious not just about what they do, but about who they are and how they see the world. But here's where most people go wrong. They treat curiosity like a technique rather than cultivating it as a genuine orientation toward others. True interest can't be faked. People sense the difference instantly. Let me teach you something that transformed my understanding of human connection. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every single person has experiences, insights, and perspectives that could enrich your understanding of the world. Here's the technique I want you to practice today, the curiosity chain. When someone shares something, follow it with 3 levels of increasingly deeper questions. Not interrogation, exploration. Watch how this opens up entirely new dimensions of conversation. Think about this. Every person you meet is a living library of experiences, insights, and stories. Most of these stories have never been fully told because most people have never been fully asked. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The questions you ask reveal more about you than the answers you give. They show what you value, what you notice, what you're curious about. Make them count. Watch what happens when you master this. People will begin to seek you out for conversations. They'll remember interactions with you as particularly meaningful. They'll feel more understood, more valued, more seen in your presence. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 conversations, make it your mission to discover something fascinating about each person you talk to. Not something impressive, something fascinating. There's a crucial difference. But let me warn you about something. This level of interest comes with responsibility. When people feel truly heard, they often share things they rarely talk about. Honor that trust. Treat their stories with the respect they deserve. Remember this. Being interested isn't just about asking questions. It's about creating a space where people feel safe to share their truth. It's about showing people that their experiences matter, that their perspectives are valuable, that their stories are worth telling. The impact of this approach goes far beyond just making people like you. It transforms how you see the world, because when you become truly interested in others, you never have a boring conversation again. Let this sink in. Every person you meet is either an opportunity to learn something new or a chance to understand something familiar from a fresh perspective. There are no uninteresting people, only uninterested listeners. Master this skill, and you'll never need to worry about being interesting again. Because while everyone else is trying to impress with their stories, you'll be creating genuine connections through your curiosity. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's self-reinforcing. The more genuinely interested you become in others, the more interesting they find you. Not because you're trying to be interesting, but because genuine curiosity is inherently attractive. Chapter 7. The Subtle Art of Complimenting. Here's what most people don't understand about compliments. A poorly given compliment can do more damage than no compliment at all. But a well-crafted, genuine compliment can create a connection that lasts a lifetime. Think about the best compliment you've ever received. Not the most flattering one, the one that made you feel truly seen. The one that recognized something about you that you valued in yourself. That's the kind of compliment we're going to learn to give. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave a compliment that made someone's eyes light up with genuine pleasure? Not just a polite thank you, but that moment of real recognition that says, yes, you truly see me. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human nature. People crave recognition not for their possessions or achievements, but for their character, their efforts, and their unique qualities. The art lies in seeing and acknowledging these deeper attributes. Let me share the 3 levels of complimenting that transform ordinary praise into unforgettable moments of connection. Level 1. surface appreciation. This is where most people stop, complimenting appearance, possessions, or obvious achievements. It's pleasant, but forgettable. Nice shirt or great presentation rarely creates lasting impact. Level 2. Effort recognition. This goes deeper, acknowledging the work, thought, or dedication behind something visible. I noticed how thoroughly you prepared for that meeting carries more weight than great job in there. Level 3. Character appreciation. This is where magic happens, recognizing and naming someone's fundamental qualities. Your ability to make everyone feel heard in discussions shows real leadership, touches something deeper than any surface. Praise. But here's where most people go wrong. They use compliments as a social technique rather than a tool for genuine recognition. They scatter praise hoping some will stick instead of offering specific observed appreciation. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my approach to praise. The most powerful compliments aren't about making people feel good, they're about making people feel seen. Here's the technique I want you to master: the observation impact quality, LIQ method. First, share a specific observation. Then, describe its positive impact. Finally, connect it to a quality you admire. Watch how this transforms ordinary praise into meaningful recognition. Think about this. Every genuine compliment is actually a story in 3 parts: what you noticed, why it matters, and what it reveals about the person. Most people only tell the first part, missing the opportunity for deeper connection. Let me share a secret that most people miss. Timing matters as much as content. A thoughtful compliment delivered in private often carries more weight than effusive. Praise in public? Some recognition is best shared in confidence. Watch what happens when you master this. People won't just appreciate your compliments, they'll remember them. They'll repeat them to others. They'll draw strength from them in moments of doubt. That's the power of genuine recognition. Here's a challenge for you. In the next 24 hours, give 3 people compliments that recognize something they haven't been praised for before. Not their obvious strengths, their subtle ones, the qualities they may not even know they're showing. But let me warn you about something. This level of recognition comes with responsibility. When you see people clearly and reflect that back to them, you're helping shape their self-image. Handle that power with care. Remember this: a genuine compliment isn't about making people feel good momentarily. It's about helping them see themselves more clearly. It's about illuminating their strengths, not just celebrating them. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how people see themselves. Because when you learn to recognize and articulate others' unique qualities, you help them recognize and embrace those qualities too. Let this sink in. Every person you meet has qualities worthy of recognition. Your job isn't to manufacture praise, it's to develop the wisdom to see these qualities and the skill to articulate them meaningfully. Master this art, and you'll never need to worry about your compliments sounding insincere again. Because while others are offering shallow praise, you'll be creating moments of genuine recognition that people carry with them for years. The true power of artful complimenting isn't in making people feel good, it's in making people feel understood. When you master this skill, you're not just giving praise, you're offering the gift of being truly seen. Chapter 8. The Energy Equation. Here's what most people don't understand about energy. It's not about being high energy or low energy. It's about having the right energy for the moment. Every interaction has its own emotional frequency, and your ability to tune into it determines your impact. Think about someone whose presence instantly changes the atmosphere of any room they enter. Not through force of personality, not through charm or charisma, but through their masterful control of energy. That's what we're going to learn to cultivate. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously managed your energy? In a social situation? Not just your enthusiasm or excitement, but the subtle vibration of your presence that others can feel before you even speak? Dale Carnegie understood something profound. People don't remember what you say nearly as much as they remember how you made them feel. And that feeling is primarily transmitted through energy, not words, not actions, but the invisible current that flows between people. Let me share the 3 levels of energy mastery that transform ordinary presence into magnetic charisma. Level 1: Talk energy awareness. This is the foundation, becoming conscious of your own energy state and how it affects others. Are you lifting the room or draining it? Are you matching the moment or fighting against it? Level 2: Energy control. This is where you learn to modulate your energy consciously. Like a skilled musician adjusting their volume, you learn to dial your presence up or down to serve the situation. Level 3: Energy influence. This is the master level, where you can actively shift the energy of an entire room, not through force, but through subtle leadership of emotional tone. But here's where most people go wrong. They confuse energy with intensity. They think being high energy means being loud or animated, when true energy mastery is about quality, not quantity. Let me teach you something that changed everything. About how I approach interactions. Your energy has a ripple effect that extends far beyond your immediate conversation. Every interaction creates waves that influence the entire social ecosystem. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The energy equation. Before every interaction, ask yourself 3 questions. What's the current energy level? What's the ideal energy level? What subtle shift can I make to bridge the gap? Think about this. Every social situation has an optimal energy frequency. Too high, and people feel overwhelmed. Too low, and they feel disconnected. Your job is to find that sweet spot and help maintain it. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful energy isn't projected, it's contained. Like a masterful actor who commands attention through stillness, your most impactful moments often come from controlled presence rather than expressive force. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start describing you as having something special they can't quite name. They'll feel more energized around you, more centered, more themselves. That's the power of conscious energy management. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, become a student of energy. Notice how different people affect the emotional temperature of spaces. Notice how various environments influence your own energy. Start seeing these invisible currents that shape all human interaction. But let me warn you about something. This level of energy awareness can be overwhelming at first. You'll start noticing things you can't unnotice. You'll become sensitive to emotional undertones you previously missed. This is normal. It's part of developing your emotional intelligence. Remember this: every interaction is an energy exchange. Whether you're conscious of it or not, you're either lifting people up, bringing them down, or maintaining the status quo. There is no neutral. The impact of mastering energy goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how you move through the world. Because when you understand how to manage and direct energy, you become a force for positive change in every environment you enter. Let this sink in. Your energy is your signature. It's more distinctive than your voice, more impactful than your words, more memorable than your actions. It's the sum total of your presence in any given moment. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people can calm a tense room just by walking in, or how others can energize a tired group without saying a word? That's not accident or natural talent. It's skilled energy management. Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about making an impact again. Because while others are focusing on what to say or do, you'll be operating at a deeper level, shaping the emotional context that determines how everything is received. The most powerful thing about energy mastery is that it works even when you're not speaking. Your presence alone becomes a force for positive change, a catalyst for better interactions, a source of stability in chaos. Chapter 9. Mirroring without mimicking. Here's what most people don't understand about mirroring. It's not about copying someone's movements, it's about creating harmony in interaction. When done correctly, it's so subtle that it's never noticed. Consciously, yet so powerful, it creates instant rapport. Think about the last time you were with someone and found yourself naturally falling into sync with them. Maybe you both leaned forward at the same time, or your speech patterns gradually aligned. That natural synchronization is what we're going to learn to understand and cultivate. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously observed how your body language and vocal patterns affect the people around you? Most people never think about it, yet it's constantly shaping their interactions. Dale Carnegie understood something fundamental about human connection. People are drawn to what feels familiar and comfortable. When you mirror someone appropriately, you create that comfort without saying a word. Let me share the 3 levels of mirroring that create instant rapport. Level 1. Physical mirroring. This is the foundation, subtle matching of posture, gesture, and movement. Not immediate copying, but gradual alignment that feels natural and unconscious. Level 2. Vocal mirroring. This involves matching elements like pace, volume, and tone, not the words themselves, but how they're delivered. It's about finding the shared rhythm of conversation. Level 3. Energy mirroring. This is the most sophisticated level, matching the emotional frequency and intensity of the interaction. It's not about mimicking emotions, but about creating emotional resonance. But here's where most people go wrong. They mirror too obviously or too quickly. Effective mirroring should be like a shadow, present but never drawing attention to itself. Let me teach you something that transformed my understanding of human connection. Mirroring isn't just about creating similarity, it's about creating safety. When people sense someone operating on their wavelength, they naturally feel more comfortable and understood. Here's the technique I want you to practice today, the 3-beat mirror. Wait 3 beats after someone shifts their position or energy before adjusting yours. This delay makes the mirror natural and unconscious rather than obvious and mechanical. Think about this. Every person has a natural rhythm in their speech, their movements, their emotional expression. When you can find and match that rhythm, you create a dance of interaction that feels effortless and natural. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful mirroring often happens at the micro level, tiny adjustments in breathing, rate, subtle shifts in facial expression, minor changes in vocal tone. These small synchronizations create major impact. Watch what happens when you master this. People will feel inexplicably comfortable around you. They won't know why. They'll just sense that interactions with you feel natural and easy. That's the power of skilled mirroring. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 conversations, focus on gradually aligning your energy level and speaking pace with the other person. Don't copy them. Blend with them. Notice how this affects the quality of your interaction. But let me warn you about something. This skill requires careful calibration. Mirror too much and you'll seem insincere. Mirror too little and you'll miss opportunities for connection. The key is finding the sweet spot of subtle synchronization. Remember this, effective mirroring isn't about losing your own identity. It's about creating a bridge between your natural state and someone else's. You're not becoming them, you're creating a comfortable middle ground where connection can flourish. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how you understand human interaction. Because when you become conscious of these subtle dynamics, you see social connection in a whole new light. Let this sink in. Every interaction is a dance of synchronization. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're constantly either moving toward or away from alignment with others. Mastering mirroring gives you conscious control of this dance. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the best conversations seem to develop their own rhythm? How the best partnerships seem to operate in perfect sync? That's not accident. It's the natural result of skilled mirroring. Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about feeling out of sync in social situations again. Because while others are focusing on what to say or do, You'll be creating natural harmony through subtle alignment. The most powerful thing about proper mirroring is that it works in any context, professional, personal, or social. It's a universal tool for creating comfort and connection that transcends cultural and linguistic barriers. Chapter 10. Make people feel important without saying a word. Here's what most people don't understand about making others feel important. The most powerful gestures often don't involve speaking at all. It's not about what you say, it's about how you make space for others in your presence. Think about someone who makes you feel valued whenever you're around them. Chances are, it's not because of their compliments or praise. It's because of how they attend to you, how they create space for you, how their very presence acknowledges your worth. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously focused on making someone feel important through your behavior? Alone? Not through words or actions, but through the quality of your attention and presence? Dale Carnegie discovered something profound. The deepest human need is the need to feel important. But here's the key. This need is best met not through verbal affirmation, but through genuine, focused attention. Let me share the 3 levels of nonverbal importance giving that transform ordinary interactions into meaningful connections. Level 1, physical presence. This is the foundation, how you position your body, where you direct your gaze, how you occupy space in relation to others. Every gesture either says, "You matter," or "You don't." Level 2, attention quality. This goes deeper, the intensity and exclusivity of your focus. Are you fully present, or is your attention fragmented? People can feel the difference instantly. Level 3, energy. Honoring. This is the master level where your entire being communicates respect and recognition for the other person's presence and value. It's subtle but profound. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to make people feel important through grand gestures or excessive praise, when the most powerful messages are sent through consistent, subtle behaviors. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my understanding of human connection. Your attention is actually a form of energy. When you give it fully to someone, you're giving them a part of your life force, your presence, your being. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The full being focus. When someone is speaking, align your entire body toward them, feet, hips, shoulders, and eyes. Watch how this simple alignment transforms the quality of your interaction. Think about this. Every time you check your phone during a conversation, every time you glance around the room while someone's speaking, you're sending a clear message. Something else might be more important than you right now. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful way to make someone feel important is to be genuinely curious about their inner world. Not their achievements or status, their thoughts, their perspectives, their unique way of seeing things. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start sharing things with you they don't share with others. Not because you asked, but because your presence creates a space where they feel valued enough to be vulnerable. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, make everyone you interact with feel like they're the most important person in your world for the duration of that interaction. Not through flattery, through pure, focused presence. But let me warn you about something. This level of attention-giving can feel intense at first, both for you and others. You'll need to calibrate it to each person and situation. Some people need more space, others need more focus. Remember this. Every interaction is an opportunity to affirm someone's importance through your behavior. Your presence can either magnify or diminish their sense of worth. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms the quality of all your relationships. Because when you consistently make others feel important through your presence, you create connections that run soul deep. Let this sink in. In a world where everyone is fighting for attention, giving your genuine, focused presence is one of the most valuable gifts you can offer. It's rarer than praise, more valuable than flattery, more lasting than any words. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel important without saying anything specifically complimentary? That's not accident, it's mastery of presence. Master this skill, and you'll never need to worry about finding the right words to make someone feel valued. Because while others are trying to prove importance through speech, you'll be creating it through presence. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's completely authentic. You can't fake genuine attention. You can only give it. When you master this, you're not using a technique, you're offering a gift. Chapter 11. The Law of Shared Identity. Here's what most people don't understand about human connection. We're naturally drawn to people who reflect parts of ourselves back to us, not our surface similarities, our deeper values, struggles, and aspirations. Think about the last time you instantly clicked with someone. Chances are you discovered a shared experience, belief, or perspective that made you feel understood. That moment of recognition, that flash of you too, that's what we're going to learn to create intentionally. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously looked for the threads of connection between yourself and someone else? Not the obvious commonalities, but the deeper resonances that create lasting bonds. Dale Carnegie understood something fundamental about human nature. People don't connect through facts, they connect through shared identity. When we recognize a part of ourselves in another person, barriers dissolve naturally. Let me share the C. 3 levels of identity connection that transform strangers into allies. Level 1. Surface commonality. This is where most people stop, finding obvious shared interests or experiences. It's a start, but it's not where real connection happens. Level 2. Value alignment. This goes deeper, discovering shared beliefs, principles, and perspectives. This is where trust begins to build. Level 3. Core recognition. This is where magic happens, connecting through shared dreams, fears, struggles, and aspirations. This is where lasting bonds are forged. But here's where most people go wrong. They focus on collecting similarities instead of discovering shared meaning. They stay at the surface level, missing opportunities for deeper connection. Let me teach you something that transformed my approach to building relationships. Every person you meet is carrying a story that resonates with part of your own. Your job is to find that resonance. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The identity bridge. In every conversation, look for 3 levels of connection: what you share in experience, what you share in values, and what you share in aspirations. Think about this. Every human being is fighting some kind of battle, pursuing some kind of dream, carrying some kind of hope. When you can recognize and honor these universal experiences, you create instant rapport. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful connections often come through shared vulnerability, not shared success. When you can authentically say, "I've been there too," you create a bond that mere similarity can't match. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start feeling like they've known you for years. Even in first meetings, they'll trust you more quickly, open up more fully, connect more deeply. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 conversations, look for one thing that genuinely reminds you of yourself in each person you meet. Not something superficial, something meaningful. But let me warn you about something. This isn't about manufacturing connections. It's about discovering genuine resonance. False rapport is worse than no rapport at all. Remember this. Every person you meet is a mirror reflecting some aspect of universal human experience. Your job isn't to find exact matches. It's to recognize the common threads of human experience that connect us all. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how you see humanity. Because when you start looking for connections instead of differences, you discover how much we all share beneath our surface distinctions. Let this sink in. In a world that often emphasizes what makes us different, the ability to find and highlight what makes us similar is a superpower, not in a way that denies our uniqueness, but in a way that celebrates our shared humanity. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to find common ground with anyone they meet? That's not chance. It's skilled recognition of shared identity. Master this skill, and you'll never feel like a stranger anywhere. Because while others are focused on what makes them different, you'll be creating bridges through shared identity. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's both universal and deeply personal. Everyone has something in common with everyone else. Your skill lies in discovering and honoring these connections. Chapter 12. The Magic of Vulnerability. Here's what most people don't understand about vulnerability. It's not about exposing weakness. It's about demonstrating courage. When used correctly, vulnerability isn't a liability. It's one of the most powerful tools for building instant trust and deep connection. Think about someone who's earned your complete trust. Chances are they showed you their human side before they showed you their perfect side. That willingness to be real, to be honest, about their struggles and growth, that's what we're going to learn to master. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you strategically shared a challenge or mistake in a way that built trust rather than diminished it? Most people either hide their vulnerabilities entirely or share them without purpose. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human nature. People trust strength, but they connect with humanity. The art lies in showing both simultaneously. Let me share the 3 levels of strategic vulnerability that transform relationships. Level 1. Common challenges. This is the foundation, sharing universal experiences and struggles that others can instantly relate to. It's safe, accessible, and builds initial rapport. Level 2. Growth stories. This goes deeper, sharing how you've learned from mistakes and overcome obstacles. It shows both humanity and resilience. Level 3. Real-time authenticity. This is the master level, being honest about current challenges while maintaining confidence. It creates immediate, powerful connection. But here's where most people go wrong. They either overshare without purpose or maintain an artificial perfection that prevents real connection. Strategic vulnerability is about finding the sweet spot between these extremes. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my approach to building trust. Vulnerability without strength creates pity. Strength without vulnerability creates distance. The magic happens when you demonstrate both simultaneously. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The strength-vulnerability balance. For every challenge you share, include the lesson learned or the growth experienced. Watch how this transforms mere disclosure into powerful connection. Think about this. Every time you pretend to be perfect, you create distance. Every time you share a struggle authentically, you create a bridge. But that bridge must be built with purpose and skill. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful moments of vulnerability often come from sharing current growth edges rather than past failures. When you can say, "Here's what I'm working on right now," you create instant relatability. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start sharing their own challenges with you more readily. They'll trust you more quickly. They'll feel safe being real with you because you've shown it's safe to be real. Here's a challenge for you. In your next important interaction, share one thing you're currently working to improve about yourself. Not a past victory, a present journey. Share it with both humility and confidence. But let me warn you about something. Strategic vulnerability requires careful calibration. Share too much too soon, and you create discomfort. Share too little too late, and you miss opportunities for connection. Remember this. Every person you meet is fighting some kind of battle, working on some kind of growth. When you can skillfully share your own journey, you give others permission to be human. 2. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms the depth of all your relationships. Because when you know how to be strategically vulnerable, you create spaces where real connection can flourish. Let this sink in. In a world of carefully curated images and artificial perfection, authentic vulnerability is revolutionary, but it must be shared with purpose, strength, and wisdom. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people can share their challenges in a way that makes you admire them more, not less? That's not accident. It's mastery of strategic vulnerability. The key is understanding that vulnerability isn't about dumping your problems on others. It's about sharing your humanity in a way that serves the relationship. It's about creating connection through common ground while maintaining professional boundaries. Think of it like a dance. Sometimes you step forward with a personal share. Sometimes you step back to maintain perspective. The art lies in knowing when to do which. Master this skill, and you'll never have to choose between being strong and being real. Because while others are either hiding their humanity or sharing without purpose, you'll be using vulnerability as a powerful tool for connection. The most powerful thing about strategic vulnerability is that it creates a permission field around you. When you share authentically but purposefully, you create an environment where others feel safe to do the same. Chapter 13. Ask, Don't Tell. Here's what most people don't understand about influence. The moment you tell someone what to do, you create resistance. But when you ask the right question, you lead them to discover the answer themselves. And that discovery creates instant buy-in. Think about the last time someone changed your mind about something important. Chances are they didn't do it by telling you what to think. They probably asked questions that helped you see things differently. That's the power we're going to learn to harness. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously chose to lead through questions rather than statements? When did you last resist the urge to give advice and instead help someone find their own answer? Dale Carnegie understood something fundamental about human nature. People may doubt what you tell them, but they never doubt what they discover for themselves. The art lies in guiding that discovery through skillful questioning. Let me share the 3 levels of questioning that transform conversations. Level 1. Clarifying questions. This is the foundation of questions that help people articulate their thoughts more clearly. What do you mean by that? Could you give me an example? Level 2. Expanding questions. This goes deeper. Questions that help people explore new perspectives. What might happen if... Have you considered... How else could we look at this? Level 3. Insight questions. This is where magic happens. Questions that create breakthrough moments of understanding. What's the real challenge here? What's stopping you? What would make this perfect? But here's where most people go wrong. They use questions as disguised statements or thinly veiled criticism. True questioning comes from genuine curiosity and a desire to understand and help. Let me teach you something that transformed my approach to influence. The most powerful questions aren't about getting information, they're about creating insight. They help people see what they already know but haven't yet recognized. Here's the technique I want you to practice today, the insight ladder. Start with broad, open questions, then gradually narrow down to specific, actionable insights. Watch how this helps people discover solutions they already had within them. Think about this. Every time you give someone an answer, you rob them of the opportunity to discover it themselves. Every time you ask a powerful question, you help them develop their own wisdom. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful questions often come from a place of not knowing. When you can ask from genuine curiosity, rather than trying to lead to a predetermined answer, you create space for real discovery. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start seeing you as wise, even though you're primarily asking questions. They'll feel more confident after talking with you, even though you didn't give them advice. That's the paradox of skilled questioning. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 important conversations, replace every piece of advice you want to give with a question that might help the person discover that insight themselves. But let me warn you about something. This approach requires patience. It's often faster to tell someone what to do, but it's rarely as effective as helping them discover it themselves. Remember this: questions are tools for creation, not just information gathering. The right question at the right moment can create a shift in perspective that no amount of telling ever could. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how people experience your leadership and influence. Because when you lead through questions, you help people develop their own wisdom rather than depend on yours. Let this sink in. In a world full of people eager to give advice, the ability to ask transformative questions is rare and valuable. It's not just about getting answers, it's about creating insights. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the most influential people in your life probably asked you more questions than they gave you answers? That's not coincidence. It's mastery of this principle. Think about the difference between being told something and discovering it yourself. Which lesson stays with you longer? Which insight feels more real? Which change is more lasting? Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about resistance to your ideas again. Because while others are creating resistance through telling, you'll be creating buy-in through asking. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it honors the wisdom in others. Every person you meet has insights and answers within them. Your questions help bring those to the surface. Chapter 14, Conversation as an Art Form. Here's what most people don't understand about conversation. It's not about the exchange of information. It's about the creation of experience. Every conversation is an opportunity to create a moment of meaning, a spark of connection, a shared journey of discovery. Think about the best conversation you've ever had. What made it memorable wasn't just what was said, it was how it made you feel, how it changed your perspective, how it created a moment of genuine human connection. That's the level of interaction we're going to learn to create intentionally. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you approached a conversation as an art form rather than a task? When did you last see it not as a means to an end, but as an opportunity to create something beautiful? Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human interaction. The difference between a good conversation and a great one isn't in the topics discussed. It's in how they're explored. The art lies in turning ordinary exchanges into extraordinary experiences. Let me share the 3 levels of conversational mastery that transform small talk into soul talk. Level 1, pattern breaking. This is the foundation, moving beyond predictable scripts and generic exchanges. Instead of, "What do you do?" Try "What makes you come alive?" Instead of "How are you?" ask, "What's been surprising you lately?" Level 2, depth navigation. This goes deeper, skillfully moving between light and profound topics, reading social cues to know when to dive deeper and when to surface for air. It's about creating a dance of depth and lightness. Level 3, moment creation. This is where magic happens, crafting conversations that become memorable experiences, turning ordinary exchanges into moments of genuine connection and discovery. But here's where most people go wrong. They focus on having interesting things to say, instead of creating interesting ways to explore ideas together. They prepare content instead of developing curiosity. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my approach to conversation. Every great conversation has a rhythm, like music. There are moments to speak and moments to listen, times to question and times to reflect, periods of intensity and periods of ease. Here's the technique I want you to practice today: the conversational journey. Start with where someone is comfortable. Build trust through genuine interest. Then gradually explore more meaningful territory together. Watch how this transforms ordinary exchanges into memorable interactions. Think about this. Every person you meet carries universes of experience, insight, and perspective within them. Your job isn't to compete with that richness, it's to help explore it. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful moments in conversation often come not from what's said, but from what's created in the space between words. The shared understanding, the mutual discovery, the collective aha moments. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start seeking you out for conversations. They'll leave interactions with you feeling more energized, more understood, more alive. Not because you're particularly clever, but because you create experiences of genuine connection. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 conversations, focus on creating moments rather than making points. Instead of thinking about what to say next, think about what to explore together. But let me warn you about something. This level of conversation requires presence and patience. You can't rush meaningful connection. You can't force profound moments. You can only create the conditions for them to emerge naturally. Remember this: every conversation is an opportunity to create art, the art of human connection. Your words are your brush, understanding is your canvas, and genuine curiosity is your palette. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how you experience human interaction. Because when you approach conversation as an art form, every interaction becomes an opportunity for creation. Let this sink in. In a world of shallow exchanges and surface-level interactions, the ability to create meaningful conversations is increasingly rare and valuable. It's not just about communication, it's about creation. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people can turn even the most ordinary topics into fascinating explorations? That's not accident. It's artistry. Think about the difference between a conversation that simply passes time and one that creates a moment you'll remember. What makes that difference? It's not the topic, it's the approach. Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about awkward silences or small talk again, because while others are stuck in conversational routines, you'll be creating experiences of genuine connection. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it transforms not just your conversations, but how you see human interaction altogether. Every exchange becomes an opportunity for artistry, every interaction a chance to create something meaningful. Chapter 15. Win people by letting them win. Here's what most people don't understand about winning. Sometimes the biggest victory comes from letting someone else have the moment. True influence isn't about dominating conversations or winning arguments. It's about creating wins that everyone can share. Think about someone who consistently makes you feel smart, capable, and right. Chances are they're not doing this by being wrong. They're doing it by being skilled at creating spaces where everyone can shine. That's the art we're going to master. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you intentionally stepped back to let someone else take the spotlight? Not because you had to, but because you understood that their win would ultimately be your win too? Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human nature. People will fight to prove themselves right, but they'll work willingly with someone who helps them feel right. The key is knowing how to create these opportunities authentically. Let me share the 3 levels of victory sharing that transform relationships. Level 1, argument avoidance. This is the foundation, learning to ask yourself, do I need to win this point? Most conflicts aren't worth the cost to the relationship. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. Level 2, victory creation. This goes deeper, actively creating opportunities for others to shine. It's about making people feel successful, competent, and valued through your interaction with them. Level 3, shared success. This is where magic happens, creating situations where everyone wins, where victory isn't a zero-sum game, but a collaborative achievement. But here's where most people go wrong. They think letting others win means losing themselves. True mastery is about creating wins that lift everyone, including you. Let me teach you something that transformed my understanding of influence. The strongest position in any interaction isn't being right, it's being generous. When you can give others the gift of being right, you gain something far more valuable than victory. Here's the technique I want you to practice today: the victory shift. Instead of focusing on proving your point, focus on finding the part of their perspective you can authentically agree with and build from there. Watch how this transforms potential conflicts into collaborations. Think about this. Every time you prove someone wrong, you might win the point, but you lose something more valuable: their openness to your influence. Every time you help someone feel right, you gain an ally. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful way to influence people isn't through overwhelming them with your rightness. It's through helping them discover their own wisdom. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start seeking your opinion more often, valuing your perspective more deeply, and following your lead more naturally, not because you've proven yourself smarter, but because you've proven yourself safer. Here's a challenge for you. In your next 3 potentially contentious interactions, make it your primary goal to help the other person feel good about their perspective while gently expanding it. Don't focus on being right. Focus on being helpful. But let me warn you about something. This isn't about being a pushover or sacrificing your principles. It's about understanding that influence comes through connection, not correction. Remember this: every interaction is an opportunity to either create an ally or an adversary. When you help people feel wise, capable, and right, you're not just making them feel good. You're building a foundation for lasting influence. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how you approach disagreement and influence altogether. Because when you know how to let others win appropriately, you never really lose. Let this sink in. In a world where everyone is trying to prove themselves right, the ability to help others feel right is a superpower. It's not about deception, it's about direction. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the most influential people often seem more interested in understanding others than in proving themselves? That's not coincidence, it's strategy. Think about the difference between winning an argument and winning a person. Which victory lasts longer? Which creates more value? Which builds rather than breaks? Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about managing difficult personalities again. Because while others are creating resistance through confrontation, you'll be building influence through appreciation. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's self-reinforcing. When you become known as someone who helps others feel good about themselves, they naturally gravitate toward your perspective. Chapter 16. Elevate the room. Here's what most people don't understand about social dynamics. Every room has an emotional temperature, and every person who enters either raises it, lowers it, or maintains it. The most likable people aren't just positive. They're emotional thermostats who consciously lift the energy of any space they enter. Think about someone who brightens up every room they enter, not through forced cheerfulness or excessive energy, but through their genuine presence and ability to lift others. That's the skill we're going to master, the art of elevating any space you enter. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you consciously thought about how your presence affects the emotional temperature of a room? Most people never consider this, yet it's constantly shaping how others respond to them. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human influence. People are drawn not just to those who make them feel good, but to those who make everyone around them feel better. The key is learning to do this authentically and consistently. Let me share the 3 levels of room elevation that transform group dynamics. Level 1, energy management. This is the foundation, learning to read and respond to the room's current energy, not matching it exactly, but lifting it gradually, naturally, appropriately. Level 2, mood orchestration. This goes deeper, actively creating opportunities for positive interactions, steering conversations toward uplifting topics, and diffusing tension before it builds. Level 3, environmental mastery. This is where magic happens, becoming the kind of presence that naturally elevates any environment, not through what you do, but through who you are. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to lift rooms through forced positivity or artificial enthusiasm. True elevation comes from authentic presence combined with conscious intention. Let me teach you something that transformed my understanding of social influence. Your impact on a room isn't about your energy level, it's about your energy quality. It's not about being the most enthusiastic, but about being the most uplifting. Here's the technique I want you to practice today, the gradual elevation method. Enter any space at slightly above its current energy level, then slowly, subtly lift that energy through your interactions. Watch how this transforms the entire atmosphere. Think about this. Every interaction is an opportunity to either lift or lower the room's energy. A thoughtful question, a genuine compliment, a moment of recognition. These small actions compound to create significant shift. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful way to elevate a room isn't through grand gestures, it's through consistent, small acts of positive influence. It's about creating a ripple effect of good energy. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start positioning themselves near you in social situations. They'll feel more energized in your presence, more optimistic, more capable. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because you're creating an environment where they can thrive. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, make it your mission to leave every room slightly better than you found it. Not through forced intervention, but through conscious, positive presence. But let me warn you about something. This level of influence comes with responsibility. When you become skilled at affecting group energy, you must use that ability wisely and ethically. Remember this, every space you enter is an opportunity to create positive change. Your presence alone can be a force for good, but only if you're conscious about how you're affecting others. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms you into a catalyst for positive change in any environment you enter. Because when you know how to elevate a room, you become a natural leader. Let this sink in. In a world where negativity often spreads automatically, the ability to consciously elevate energy is increasingly valuable. It's not just about being positive. It's about being transformative. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to make everything better just by being there? That's not accident or natural charisma. It's skilled environmental influence. Think about the difference between someone who simply exists in a space and someone who actively improves it. Which would you rather be? Which creates more value? Which builds stronger relationships? Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about fitting into new environments again. Because while others are trying to adapt to the room's energy, you'll be skillfully lifting it. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's self-perpetuating. When you become known as someone who makes things better, opportunities and relationships naturally flow toward you. Chapter 17, Exit, Powerfully. Here's what most people don't understand about endings. How you leave matters just as much as how you arrive. Your exit isn't just the end of an interaction, it's the beginning of your legacy in someone's memory. Think about someone who always leaves you feeling better than when they arrived. Notice how they don't just disappear, they create a moment of completion, of appreciation, of anticipation for the next meeting. That's the art we're going to master. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave as much thought to how you left a room as to how you entered it? Most people focus on first impressions, forgetting that last impressions often linger longer. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human psychology. People remember endings more vividly than middles. The key is learning to craft exits that strengthen connections rather than merely concluding them. Let me share the 3 levels of powerful exits that transform ordinary goodbyes into lasting impressions. Level 1, timing mastery. This is the Foundation, learning to recognize and create the perfect moment to exit. Not too early, not too late, but exactly when the energy is still high and the connection strong. Level 2. Connection completion. This goes deeper, leaving people with a sense of fulfillment and forward momentum. It's about creating closure while building anticipation for future interactions. Level 3. Legacy creation. This is where magic happens. Crafting exits that leave people feeling better about themselves, the interaction, and their connection with you. But here's where most people go wrong. They treat exits as mere conclusions rather than opportunities for deepening connection. True mastery lies in making your departure strengthen the relationship. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my understanding of social dynamics. Every exit is actually a bridge to your next interaction. How you leave determines how easily you can return. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The 3-part exit. First, acknowledge the value of the interaction. Second, create a specific thread for future connection. Third, leave on a high note that reinforces positive feelings. Think about this. Every time you exit a situation, you're not just ending a moment, you're setting the tone for all future interactions. Your departure creates the context for your next arrival. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful exits often involve giving rather than taking. Whether it's a genuine compliment, a helpful suggestion, or a moment of recognition, leave people with something valuable. Watch what happens when you master this. People will start looking forward to your next appearance even as you're leaving. They'll remember interactions with you more positively. They'll feel more connected to you in your absence. Here's a challenge for you. For your next 3 exits, whether from a meeting, conversation, or social gathering, focus on making others feel better about themselves as you leave, not through flattery, but through genuine appreciation. But let me warn you about something. This level of conscious exit requires attention and energy. It's tempting to let endings happen naturally, but purposeful conclusions create powerful impressions. Remember this: every exit is an opportunity to strengthen a connection. How you leave a room, a conversation, or a relationship shapes how people think about you when you're not there. The impact of mastering this skill goes far beyond making people like you. It transforms how your presence lingers in people's minds. Because when you know how to exit powerfully, your influence continues even in your absence. Let this sink in. In a world where most endings are thoughtless or awkward, the ability to create meaningful conclusions is increasingly valuable. It's not just about saying goodbye, it's about creating anticipation for hello. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people leave you feeling energized and appreciated, while others leave you feeling drained or incomplete? That's not chance. It's the difference between conscious and unconscious exits. Think about the difference between an interaction that just ends and one that concludes purposefully. Which creates more value? Which builds stronger connections? Which leaves a lasting positive impression? Master this skill, and you'll never have to worry about awkward goodbyes again. Because while others are simply ending interactions, you'll be strengthening connections through your departures. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it transforms every ending into a beginning. When you master the art of meaningful exits, you create a continuous cycle of positive anticipation and fulfilling returns. Chapter 18. Make it a habit, not a trick. Here's what most people don't understand about likability. The most magnetic people aren't performing techniques, they're living principles. What we've learned isn't just a set of skills to practice. It's a way of being to embody. Think about someone who consistently draws others to them year after year, situation after situation. They're not running through a mental checklist of techniques. They've integrated these principles so deeply that being likable is simply who they are. That's the level we're going to reach. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you thought about the difference between doing likable things and being a likable person? Most people focus on actions without considering the deeper transformation required for lasting impact. Dale Carnegie understood something profound about human nature. True influence doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you are. The key is transforming these principles from conscious techniques into unconscious habits. Let me share the 3 levels of integration that transform techniques into character. Level 1, conscious practice. This is where we all start, deliberately applying what we've learned, thinking through each interaction, consciously implementing techniques. It's necessary but not sufficient. Level 2, natural implementation. This is where the principles start becoming automatic. You find yourself naturally remembering names, asking questions, showing genuine interest without having to think about it. Level 3, character integration. This is where magic happens, when these principles become so deeply integrated that they're simply expressions of who you are, not techniques you're using. But here's where most people go wrong. They treat these principles as a toolkit to use rather than a path to follow. True mastery comes from transformation, not application. Let me teach you something that revolutionized my understanding of personal development. The goal isn't to become good at using these techniques, it's to become the kind of person who naturally embodies these principles. Here's the technique I want you to practice today. The identity shift. Instead of asking, "What would a likable person do?" start asking, "Who do I need to become to make these principles natural?" Watch how this subtle shift transforms your approach. Think about this. Every technique we've discussed, from remembering names to creating meaningful conversations, is actually a reflection of deeper qualities like respect, curiosity, and genuine care for others. Let me share a secret that most people miss. The most powerful transformation happens when you stop trying to be likable and start focusing on genuinely appreciating people. The techniques become natural because they're expressions of real interest and care. Watch what happens when you master this. People won't just like you, they'll trust you. They won't just enjoy your company, they'll seek it out. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because you've become someone who genuinely adds value to their lives. Here's a challenge for you. For the next week, focus not on implementing techniques, but on developing the underlying qualities that make these techniques work: genuine interest, respectful attention, authentic appreciation. But let me warn you about something. This level of transformation takes time. There will be moments when you fall back into old patterns. That's not failure. It's part of the integration process. Remember this: every interaction is an opportunity, not just to practice these principles, but to deepen their integration into your character. You're not just learning skills, you're evolving as a person. The impact of this transformation goes far beyond making people like you. It changes how you experience relationships, how you view others, how you move through the world. Because when these principles become part of who you are, every interaction becomes an opportunity for meaningful connection. Let this sink in. In a world of superficial connections and manipulative techniques, authentic likability is increasingly rare and valuable. It's not about what you do, it's about who you become. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly connect with others, while others struggle even when using the same techniques? That's the difference between doing likable things and being genuinely likable. Think about the difference between someone who uses techniques to influence others and someone who naturally uplifts others through their presence. Which would you rather be? Which creates more lasting impact? Which builds deeper connections? Master this transformation, and you'll never have to worry about remembering techniques again. Because while others are trying to do the right things, you'll simply be the right person. The most powerful thing about this approach is that it's sustainable. When these principles become part of your character, you don't have to maintain them. They maintain themselves through natural expression.